we could grab the Ybarra topic, because that's like kind of interesting. I think we could knock it out pretty quickly.
Or you could talk about it for 6 months, like.
Or we could do that. But of course,
drama. Let's go.
Drama. It's relevant because, of course, it's Asmongold, person that I like know from back when we all, were just doing small WoW content, and now he's one of the biggest men on internet. And that means he's not a human anymore. He's a topic. Imagine transcending to the point of being a topic instead of a person. Incredible. So
challenging.
This, I think, personally, right? It's like, I don't want to be offensive. That said, I mean, I've certainly said not particularly charitable things about Mr. Ybarra in the past, but that's just because I don't know, there's been plenty of leadership related things that I disagree about.
Yeah, like the time where it's like, if you don't return to office, that's a paraphrase, of course. It's like, if we're not doing what makes you happy, leave. Like,
yeah.
Spot on, bro.
It's funny, I think about my team, we got like 1 man in the Denmark, 2 men in the Wales. Imagine all that talent we just lose if I just suddenly decided you have to be in the office.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certainly some roles where, like, being in person helps, but, I mean, flexibility. Why don't you take all of the gains everywhere instead of leaving loads of the gains on the table? But anyhow, Asmongold was essentially talking about the game being too hard, in a way.
Yeah.
And is this him actually at Maiden in is that Maiden in Tomb of Sargeras?
Oh my god.
Oh, never mind. We can actually listen to this content. Can they hear it?
No. They can't. I'll tell you why. Running OBS on a Mac is a massive pain in the ass, it turns out.
So here's the deal, right? Now, Asmongold's done plenty of higher-end content. He's not the best player in the world. He also has never claimed to be. And most importantly, what I like here is, and I want to say, Mike, obviously, me, you, and Preach, we can all talk Mike to Mike, which is one of the great things one of the fantastic fraternities, brotherhoods that we're a part of. So, Mike said the problem is he can't mythic or heroic successfully. And the good news is, in terms of formal logic, Mike Quick, the leader of Blizzard Entertainment, he didn't say and, he said or. And because I have been regularly raiding heroic since Nyalotha, I suppose, and, before that in the equivalent of, like, Mists of Pandaria and Wrath of the Lich King, Mike, the president of Blizzard, has just confirmed that all of my criticisms are valid and true. Thank you, Mike. I can't believe he gave me such a big W. Isn't that amazing, Matt? And you too, Matt. You did Mythic and Taurus. You've been a heroic raider. So, per the leader of Blizzard Entertainment's criteria, we have valid criticism of the game.
Yeah, I'm cutting edge raider.
We're literally right.
There is such a massive asterisk on that. It's hilarious.
John, cutting edge raider. Yeah. Our Dakor, cutting edge raider. We are, in fact, a team of ahead of the curve and cutting edge raiders. And that means that per Mike Ybarra, we're right. Which I appreciate greatly. Now, if you're very confused about this, I don't blame you, because it is stupid shit in the internet. But it is between Asmongold, notable human, and Mike Ybarra, notable human. Add 2 notable humans together and you get news. So here's the deal. For a long time, Asmongold's been saying, look, dude, the game's too hard. Now, I mean, if we're talking about Nighthold and Tomb of Sargeras, or if we're talking about Tomb of Sargeras mythic raiding, there's a discussion, big time. And even some points, like, the Chuckler, Zoval, or whatever, but that's like, they fucked the balance there. But for, like, normal mode, I don't think WoW's too hard. Actually, no, here's what's terrifying.
Not anymore, it's not.
Here's what's terrifying. We are blithering morons. Blithering.
Well, speak for yourself, I guess.
Total morons. Okay. Here's the thing.
Selectively.
We're selective morons. But when we're raiding, we don't always feel like a well-oiled machine. And then we take a look at Warcraft logs, and it turns out that we're actually quite high percentile.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that is very shocking and worrying. But
Dunning-Kruger's wild.
It could say something about this topic here. It's like we feel like we're pretty bad at the game, yet per Warcraft logs at the difficulty that we do, actually, even though we feel like we execute like total morons, apparently we get pretty good execution ranks and shit, which is shocking. So if Asmongold's saying the game's like a bit too hard, a bit too sweaty, you know, it's not really like welcoming to players or whatever. It's probably not good if Mike Ybarra says the problem is he can't mythic or heroic raid. Because the problem, Mike, is... Oh, no, I can't use the swear word that begins with C, because Americans get really offended by it.
Why would that stop you?
See, that's a problem that, of the Council of Mikes, which of course is me, Preach, and Mike Ybarra. I'm sure there's a few other Mikes. Me and Preach, we can say the swear word that's 4 letters that begins with C. But, yeah, actually, YouTube really goes down hard against that word. Anyway, point is, Mr. Ybarra, that makes you look like a humongous asshole! And you don't want to look like a humongous asshole. And, Mike, via publicly available data, we can see what percentage of players have got ahead of the curve, or cutting edge. And guess what, you friggin' moron? It's a small percentage, so you have... tacitly said that a bunch of people's criticisms are not valid because they can't do that. Now, I know that that is partially strawmanning, and you probably feel very boo-hoo hard done by this. To which I'd say, if you do, then grow a thicker skin, come on. But that's what people are going to take away from it. And your job is to be a leader. Your job, therefore, is to be able to think about how this is an incredibly stupid thing for you to say, and how it could potentially be construed in a way that is not positive to your long-term goals. You are paid your chunky salary to have the forethought to not be that stupid. It's really simple, dude. And like, you've made these mistakes a few times, and it does just kind of make me think like, yeah, maybe you're one of our bros, a fellow player, but does that make you qualified to lead the company in a public role? Like, at least when you're on the Battle.net team, you weren't saying things like this publicly in the capacity of president of the company, that then is going to make a whole bunch of people think that they aren't really listened to or respected. And again, you may say, but Michael, that is a straw man that you are making against me. I would say that is a very obvious reading of the thing that you just said. So, you know, come on, get the brain up. You're in California and you're rich. You can use Youngblood. You can use stamps. I don't know, all the weird Californian rich people shit. Like, if you are experiencing a deficiency in the old thinking faculties, I'm sure there is some Californian hellscape you can do. But, like, my core point here, this is an incredibly moronic thing for a company to say. Because what this does is it then, like, you're actually throwing your own team under the bus here. Right? You know, like, you're actually causing a problem. And the reason why I'm kind of doing this directly at Mike is because this doesn't represent Ian. Ian will even talk about, you know, oh, there's loads of players, and actually for them, content is doing world content and gearing up a fresh character that way. So this is not something Ian thinks, or probably anyone in the Warcraft team. And that's why, as a leader, you shouldn't be doing this to the people who directly report to you and the people who report to the people who directly report to you. Because if you start doing more things like that, then your direct reports actually won't fucking respect you. Maybe they don't already. Who knows? But this is just stupid. And this is vastly below this is just below what a fucking president of Blizzard should be saying. It's stupid.
It is funny because it ends up being a result of two different people playing by two different rule sets. Because Asmongold in his position is allowed to say whatever he wants, and there will never be any.
Oh, like, yeah, and this
unless it's the most dire thing of all time.
To be clear, this is not Asmongold dick sucking, and I want to grab something because sorry Zach, I don't know if you'll see this, but I do have some beef with you. Don't worry, it's not really with you. It's more probably with your editors. It was the Starfield thing that they did. they put out a yes, that was it. Let me just bring this, you know, because obviously, if I take a little snipe, then perhaps Mike won't feel as bad. Balance, you know, this is true BBC balance. They did do it. I've just put it up at the top there. This thing, Starfield. If the developers gave a, oh, I don't know, what could those? Come on, load. Come on, internet. Come on. Anytime now. There you go. I wonder what those 4 asterisks are supposed to mean. But this is profoundly stupid. No Man's Sky does all those things that it did. Because when it launched, it did those instead of content. And everyone ripped it to shreds. Right? Because they over-indexed the technological capabilities, of that game. And they under-index the player experience and the content, right? This is stupid. And, like, Asmongold, I know that they're kind of paraphrasing you at the start, but, like, again, your editors continually erode your brand value by going too hard in these, right? And it's like, I know you don't do this for the money, so you don't need to take those L's. Anyhow, this is not some sort of like, I'm a content creator. I'm going to back up the other content creator no matter what. It's not that, right? It's like, this ended up being like pretty stupid, pretty misleading, didn't actually get into the substance of the issues. And it's like, I do feel like you do have a responsibility to sort of, try to understand things a little bit. Anyway, let's not get into the whole discussion of game engines. I do have a video I'm working on for that. Anyway, so there we go. Now that I'm willing to, criticize everyone involved in this exchange, point basically is, was Asmongold's experience trying to pug Sepulchre of the First Ones valid? Ain't that the question? Because how many people will just say, oh, there's a new raid out. Oh, cool, there's a pre-made group finder. I may as well use that to find a group. And then they go in. I would say that his rather disastrous first foray into the Sepulchre of the First Ones was a valid game experience, and not a good one. Good to know that, because I'm fairly sure that's the sort of thing that Asmon's criticism is rooted in. So very good to know then that this is what the leader of the company thinks about that.
It's like I said, it's 2 people playing by different rule sets.
Yeah.
Asmongold can say all within almost entirely whatever the hell he likes at any point in time. And all that is heard is true, dude. True. Because that's like the, I'm not going to say that word. That's like the arena that's fought in, right? That's the acceptable way of communication. That's the rule set. And then you look at Ybarra and he's playing by a different rule set. And these 2 rule sets are completely incompatible. There's no way Ybarra could ever talk like Asmongold without him stepping completely out of his station. Yeah. And Asmongold could talk like Ybarra does, but then it would have no content because it would have to involve some variety of nuance. And obviously Asmongold's fully capable of that and often does. But generally speaking, that's not the vast majority of content because content inherently lacks nuance.
Well, it's also impossible via the Twitch model.
Yeah, exactly. So it inherently lacks nuance. So this is literally an incompatibility of communication. Where as soon as you try to even speak to the other person, you might as well be speaking completely different languages. So
and to be clear, this was like Asmongold reacting to a video, and it was Max.
I think it was in Vinruki talking about PvP.
Sorry, yes. So this was not Ybarra commenting on Asmongold's channel. This was Ybarra commenting on another channel when the content was being watched. It
was an offhand thing, just even in the best way to look at it would be saying, well, actually, there's a little bit of tries and fails, and there's maybe a little bit of would always want to succeed, and historically, wants the rewards without a lot of the effort a lot of the time, and you could see how that could be considered of the content creators and the fact that streamers get carried off a lot of the time and stuff like that, the streamer loot and all that stuff all going on. So there's like, if you were to break this down into a real, like, write a couple essays about it, it would be really fascinating. But at the same time, it's like there's there's nothing was ever going to come of this that's in any capacity positive. Like,
and the stupid thing,
no one
is,
should
like,
engage with each other in this capacity, which kind of sucks. But
he actually did play at that level before,
like, but then since,
but like if that means Legion,
since then has been talking about World of Warcraft as if he has a close personal relationship with it, despite not having played much substantially in Dragonflight, where the game is largely considered to be a whole different thing. Like that's the bit that's worth talking about. Like
you look at
that's the bit where the nuance is completely dead, and you go, well, you're not going to speak about this game with an up-to-date opinion without playing it substantially. So, the wit of actually being a really scenic or really involved in the scene content creator is clearly going to, by virtue of branching out, it's going to be dissolved in a little bit. But if people don't think that way or react that way, then offhand comments can ultimately end up being taken with the wit that they would have in the past, but maybe aren't entirely deserving now, and maybe not even entirely intentional, because it's a thing of, if you're online so long and you're just saying stuff, it's like you're saying stuff all day. You can't say everything with complete intentionality and complete, well, how's everyone in the known universe going to take what I'm saying?
Well, that brings us...
would drive you completely insane.
That brings us to the podcast problem.
Yeah.
Because it's like, even, take it with like a Rogan or a Lex Friedman or whatever. It's like Lex Friedman did an interview with Netanyahu, right? Yeah. And it was like, he didn't really push back on things that he totally should have pushed back on. But also, if he's going to have that cadence of guests, like, how is he going to have the knowledge of Earth? It's like an inherent problem in podcasting, right? So it's like, if Rogan doesn't know about somebody, wants to talk to somebody, then there's this weird thing, because he's not a journalist at all. It's like a pundit or whatever. But then if people say something authoritatively as if it's true on a podcast, but the podcaster doesn't have enough knowledge to like fact check them or whatever, oh no, now we're in a very bizarre situation, which I think kind of defines like a lot of modern miscommunication, because it feels like more and more and more of our communication is miscommunication. And it's like, this is definitely one of those scenarios. And the reason why it's frustrating to me is I don't like to see the president of Blizzard kind of stupidly walk into a bunch of landmines, because I expect better from a very highly compensated leader of a business. It's like, you're leading a few thousand people. I actually do hold you to the highest standards. That's the responsibility that comes with the title of president, and likely whatever compensation package is involved with that. I expect somebody at that role to absolutely be like, 5th percentile, 3rd percentile, 1st percentile. I mean, if it's you versus the thousands of people who work for you, you've definitely got to be 1st percentile or more to be worthy of that place.
Yeah, I would qualify that by saying, if it's an issue of power and responsibility, then that looks a little bit interesting on Asmongold's side as well, from the same perspective of what, is there a decent chance that for all the responsibility that Mike Ybarra has as president, could Asmongold do a substantial amount of damage to his company with a couple of videos if he just made things up?
Absolutely.
So then you can see where it's like, these two people are not like Asmongold's afraid of Ybarra or anything, but it's more like both of these people have kind of, their words carry a lot of weight, but only one ever really gets substantial pushback to using them, and that's Ybarra. So it's like, it is literally a one-sided communication thing in a bunch of ways.
Asmon does get pushback.
He does, but it's not to the same degree. It's not held to the same responsibility level here. Like,
it's instantly, it's a scale issue.
Yeah.
He's not going to get pushback at scale, because there is no one who is like, I mean, he outscales World of Warcraft as a product, right? Mm-hmm. So that means that any like sort of informed opinions from like the very most modern sort of slice of the game, they're inherently going to be so much smaller. So it's like any noise that they make will be completely, it won't be discernible from background noise.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. If I could see from, because generally, trying to be empathetic about both sides of things, I could very easily see Ybarra being frustrated by Asmongold being able to say whatever he wants about the game that he's in charge of, or the company he's in charge of, and then there is no clear way of literally going, well, actually,
Well, if you're going to do
here's
that,
the stuff here's actually all the reasons you're wrong. Whenever that is like you are effectively talking to a brick wall because that person can just move on. It is the equivalent of like you're like throwing rocks at a plane that's flying past trying to bomb you. Like,
but
in a way,
it still is the wrong response.
Yeah, no doubt.
You are very well compensated, leading thousands of people to reliably not make the wrong response.
Yeah, so obviously,
like people talk about, leadership to like worker pay disparities or whatever. The only way you can justify them is if your hit rate of, I suppose, not making mistakes is that goddamn high. This is a stupid L to take, and it undermines the World of Warcraft development team, which is absolutely not what they need their leader to do. Of course, while he's also undermining his own team with the enforced return to office and, all the other things that have seemingly, not been particularly good for the working environment at Blizzard. One or two people have leaked to me about that not being particularly nice, but I'm sure that's not news to the person who's running the show. So all of that's fairly weird and awkward. And oddly enough, one of the other topics in today's stream, the original document, was, are we sacrificing, quality for quantity? Because people were looking at Dragonflight having a very successful launch, being quite well regarded. The, quality of content was generally fairly high. There was certainly criticism with aspects of 10.1.7. A lot of people then sort of correlated that in with some working conditions complaints at Blizzard, with employee turnover at Blizzard. And it's like, that's true or not. That's the perception that's out there.
Yeah, 10.1.7, something that we're obviously not going to get to talk an awful lot about today, but it is like, there was certainly the 10.2 announcement was definitely timed well.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure. Because 10.1.7
they must have known.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of the content was... It's the awkward part about putting a name on a patch. And everyone goes, oh, the new patch, it has a name, and then you go in, there's nothing there.
Fury Incarnate!
And the Fury Incarnate was...
5 minutes?
5 seconds of Farak. And
10?
Even then, it was clearly, it was the prospect of, they could have put all the 10.1.7 stuff in 10.2 story-wise, and it wouldn't have mattered a tiny thing outside of speeding things up, because they did retread the ground immediately anyway, so it felt too quick to matter, instead of, here's 10.1.7, bask in that for a bit, and then go on.
It's like Fury Incarnate. Do you know what that sounds like? The name of the marketing cinematic they posted, rather than anything in the game. Not anything in the game, because like Fury Incarnate totally does match, like, of course, Farak being a spicy boy, which I think we all enjoy. Matt Mercer's doing a fantastic job. That's all great. But yeah, like, you haven't done that MSQ, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you have done that now, right? Yeah, it's like you kill some dudes and you hide in a bush and then it's done. And you might, like, if you haven't done it, you might hear me say that and think like, oh, come on, you're being reductive. I'm not.
Slightly.
Very slightly. Like, you have to fly to the Onaran Plains pretty far out of the way first.
Yeah, and there's dialogue, and there's, there's
good dialogue.
There's exposition for why you're there, and it is a quick lead into the power of the Druids of the Flame and a little teaser for them, the Primalists.
But certainly, if people expected anything like the Forbidden Reach, what we got introducing like a lot more of Sarkareth from a characterization perspective, we didn't get that.
Yeah, it was a much smaller version of that, and you can very clearly tell that's what people felt. They did also split other bits of content out, like obviously there's a Night Elf stuff, which is most of that is definitely undercooked from a gameplay perspective, and also buggy at launch, which was an awful experience. Smile of Shadowstone points at the Fellblazer for 4 seconds. Basically, you were supposed to follow Maiev inside her barrier, and at launch she would, I think she was like reacting to things in other phases or something, because she would walk, she would walk at RP walk speed for 2 seconds, stop and play an animation where she pointed at something that wasn't there for 4 seconds. I counted. Then RP walk for another 2 or 3 seconds, then point. So it took me about 45 minutes to do a quest that was 20 minutes long tops because of stuff like that.
Hey, your initial content expectation was about 45 minutes for a quest.
Yeah, I got it right. But
well done. Again, as always with things that Matt wants, the monkey's paw curls. He got his 45 minutes, but not the way he expected.
Absolutely. I'm a big big monkey paw just existence, to be honest with you. But like, there's definitely just, it felt like a mid patch, and it's just the expectation for patches is creeping up, and it's that case of you're setting lap times for a marathon, I guess, and you're doing, say you're doing, you're doing a kilo and you're doing 10 100-meter laps, and you sprinted for 2 of the laps, and now you're wondering why your average lap time's gone down every lap. That's what it felt like a lot of, until 10.2 showed up and you went, oh, hang on. You actually are doing a lot of work in the background and making a lot of stuff. It's just that you just went, new patches out, and the content, and everyone's like, it's kind of shit. And it's just a matter of it's positioning and marketing is the problem more than anything else, realistically.
And that happens
all the time. It's Blizzard. It's Blizzard to a T. They literally cannot come out and say, this is something, here's what it is, please like it, set your expectations to it. They always either undersell something or they oversell, because the people who actually operate on the marketing level don't have a goddamn clue what players want or interested in, because Activision Blizzard are a terrible company.
They have different incentives.
And I think what this is
they don't have the latitude to just be agile, right?
No, it's not even that.
I think it's Warcraft Stats who runs the Twitter account. I'll tell you who's agile.
That stuff's insane.
Who's agile is the person who runs the Activision Blizzard corporate account.
Oh, yeah.
Because their Twitter account is talking about how many inches of Arthas you could get.
After the 19 inches of venom from Spider-Man, something I mean.
And suffice to say, I'm not going to make that joke.
Yeah.
Look at that. You see? Corporate responsibility.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about marketing and how it works.
Xerox problems. That's I like that.
Like,
it's teams with black boxes, right?
Yeah,
because it's like, what does the marketing team do? It markets what it gets. What if what it gets is, something where the dev team are like, hey guys, I think we should go a bit quiet in this, or, maybe not go super crazy in this because we want players' expectations to match the content we've been able to deliver. It's like, there's clearly not that level of communication, because what does marketing team do? Market.
Fury incarnate, etc.
Fury incarnate.
Yeah, and you're like, that's actually cool and that's good, but that's,
you're like, where's the fury?
It's all in Farak's slight. It's all in that one cinematic, which is not really the patch. Which I completely get that. That's, you're gonna want to call a patch something to inspire people, but you just need to be a little bit more tactful with it. And it's even the idea of, like we're talking at the very start of this stream, the WoWcast was so just, you've explained a World of Warcraft patch.
Yeah.
And you revealed that it was the Emerald Dream, and everyone went, we kind of knew that.
And to be clear, nothing against the people on there.
There
was, like, Bethany did a fantastic job hosting it. The developers did a fantastic job, doing their bit. No one in that situation did anything wrong. Like, to be the most clear, it is just the format wasn't suited to the sorts of things that the players get excited about.
Yeah, it's like I imagine if you literally like had a thing where you had just someone like Bethany go around and be like, all right, this patch is coming out. We've just ran you a 5-minute explainer of what it is. So these people, so the people watching what you're about to say know what it is. What's the coolest thing you've made? Or what are the 3 things you're most personally excited for? And then you get the people on the team having the personal excitement moments of, and obviously this could be done badly and really stuntedly, that could happen. But if you have someone go, actually, I'll show you, and they show you like the druid form or something, because
have Bethany get unreasonably excited about all the different forms Remain will be able to take.
Get the devs to do that, basically. Because they clearly feel that way.
The cat raptor. Why was the cat raptor not in the WoWcast? That was like one of the coolest things.
Yeah, it's like, as you can tell about how like Anne talked about Farak and the narrative stuff, is like there was clearly a lot of real excitement there, but it didn't get to go anywhere in terms of like anything. Where if that was instead more, what do you think is the coolest about Farak, or what is going through Farak's head in this? What's the big dramatic showdown between our people, between our narrative stuff in this, or like what can players be literally excited by? Or what? No, I suppose is what are you most excited by? And it goes to that, you're like, oh, holy, yeah, well, this bit's actually cool. Or, just, again, turn around and be like, hello, you are a World of Warcraft developer who plays the game a lot, and that's why you're here and you have a lot of fun. What's cool? And they're just like, well, actually, the two like, I mean, you could do this with Skarsgård, and you'd be printing views, like, because Skarsgård can explain himself very well, as shown in the interviews that were done.
Yep, and those deep dive. Remember the deep dive blog post that Skarsgård was like doing a lot of? Like, those were all fantastic.
Yeah, so it's like if you sat down and went, all right, what's the coolest item you've made? Or I know this time round he led the team but didn't make stuff specifically himself largely. But if he turned around and went like, actually, and you can imagine the genuine energy, just like, actually, maybe one name them like, oh, me and X put together this this item, and it's got this. Because you can imagine something like Voice of the Sand Star, and then talking with Dan going, actually, this is what we envisioned for this. People go, damn, that's like a tangible thing I can play the game for, and you don't have it like the new zone is the Emerald Dream is not a tangible thing you play the game for. That's the thing you expect.
Yeah,
you don't want to be told what you expect. You want to be told something that's actually cool, and that's why I'm sat here going, why could I do their jobs better? And I hate feeling that way because it sounds so unbelievably egotistical.
Oh my god.
But at the same time, I'm sat here going, marketing people have no soul, and I hate it. Yeah, you're right. You're right, by the way. It's all right. It's not as bad as Michael's.
What?
Someone said to tighten that up. And they were right for me.
Yeah, I also have a knot loose.
Yeah, just
screw loose.
Yeah,
knots and screws, whatever.
Yeah, just do it right, Night Stalker. You're right. Just do that. Just do it. Do right. But yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's so just do it right. Like for it. What's the problem there? Why can't they just market the game properly? And then there's all sorts of reasons, and they're classically trained marketing people, and there's production issues where they're only allowed access to developers at certain
classically
times.
Trained marketing people.
Yeah, same difference in the Destiny state of the game versus the video the game director posted later. Close enough where it's like, yeah, here's the thing, and here's what we do, and it's run of the mill, and we've done it enough that you've gotten used to it and whatever. And then it's like, oh, that missed. How do we fix this?
Authenticity is everything.
Dude, talk. Especially
authenticity is everything. Even to the point where, like, one of the things that holds some of our thumbnails back sometimes is that they're too, like, sometimes they look too nice, or the title of the video is too official. Whereas, like, even now, like, a lot of those, those video titles that are all in lowercase, those often get way higher click-through rates because they're seen as being...
and also just because they're different.
Because they're different and because they're seen as being, real, right? Yeah. And it's like, it's interesting.